approaching your business from the standpoint of lack instead of abundance? Well, we're going to help you make that shift today thanks to Melanie Yost, who is a business coach. Melanie, thank you so much for being on the show again today.
Thank you for having me, Krizia. I really appreciate being here again.
Well, Melanie, you help a lot of professionals and entrepreneurs change their business and take that business to the next level. And I'm sure that you deal with people who approach their business from the standpoint of lack as opposed to abundance. And it can be very easy as an entrepreneur. Why
Oh,
is it that so many entrepreneurs view their business and sometimes their lives from the standpoint of lack?
well, I talk about this a lot, but because it takes money to run a business, and money is very tied to safety and security. And so anytime that there is a bump in that has to do with money, an unexpected bill or an unexpected expense or a client leaves or business drops off, people go into survival mode and they freak out and they are living in the land of lack. And it's very hard for them to flip out of that.
Okay, now when you say living in the land of lack, what exactly do you mean by that?
Well, it's poverty consciousness. And I want to be clear about poverty consciousness. Most people have a funky relationship with money. It just is true. But poverty consciousness says there's not enough. There's not enough to go around and that there is a limited amount. And so, and poverty consciousness, you can have it with money, which happens a lot. I can't afford, I can't afford, I can't afford, I can't afford. If you hear that a lot or you hear yourself saying that a lot, you're living in poverty consciousness about money. There's also poverty consciousness about time. I don't have enough time. I don't have time to do that. I don't know where the time goes. And there's poverty consciousness about energy. I just don't have the energy. I wish I had the energy you had. I wish I could do that. So there's all kinds of poverty consciousness that affect business owners.
Okay, so when you say poverty consciousness, are you talking about sort of that? You've talked about you've mentioned a few sentences. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough energy. So that's like the conversation that's going in our head, and that's the way we perceive our lives or our business.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's not just the conversation that goes on in our head. I mean, you hear yourself saying that a lot. You're saying that to other people. Oh, I wish I could do that, but I don't have enough time. Oh, I really want to do that, but I don't have the money. I can't afford it. I wish I could, run around with my kids. I don't have the energy. So it's the conversation that's going on in our head, but it's also what we're saying out loud to other people.
And interestingly enough, sometimes that conversation is going on in our head, and actually sometimes the conversation that we're having with other people, it's something that we actually don't hear. Sometimes we don't hear our own words when we say, I don't have enough, I don't have enough, I don't have enough. And that becomes a mantra almost.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, is that conversation linked to fear? I mean, when you do say that having a business means that we're going to have to spend money, but is it that we're afraid that there's just not going to be enough money, that we're going to lose our money, or is that why we're having that conversation with ourselves? Or that negative conversation?
So some of it's conditioning. Some of it, because our relationship with money is often influenced by our family of origin and how they dealt with money. But it also has to do with what is our experience with, do we think that we live in an abundant universe or a non-abundant? So when you have the poverty consciousness, what it means is that, okay, so you think about things as like a pie, okay? So money is a pie, and there's only this much money. So, Krizia, if you had half of the pie, then, oh my gosh, well, since there's a finite amount, then there's only half of the pie left for the rest of us. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So that's that lack consciousness and not really understanding that there's plenty for everyone and there's plenty to go around. And that the universe really is an abundant place. So when you're living in lack, and so what happens, and so the greed that happens, isn't when you have an abundant mindset, greed doesn't even enter the picture. Greed only enters the picture when you have a poverty mindset and you think there's a finite amount, a limited amount. Because then what happens is, again, your survival kicks in and says, I need to get everything that I can get. I need to make sure I get my fair share. And so everyone is scrambling to get their fair share. And if it means that I have to take from you to get what I need, then I'm going to do it. But when you understand that there's plenty for everyone and that the world, that the universe is an abundant place, you don't feel the need to take from other people to get what you need. Now, if I'm perceiving that you've got half of the pie and there's only half for the rest of us, then I'm going to get jealous of your half and I'm going to get resentful of your half and think that you owe me some because you're being greedy and you've got half. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does.